The night was darker than usual in the bustling city of Kumasi, Ghana. The streets were alive with chatter, the glow of food vendors selling roasted plantain, and the distant rhythm of drums from a wedding party somewhere in the neighborhood. But in one tall glass building overlooking the city, a secret was about to shake a powerful man to his core. Oba Mensah, a wealthy businessman known for his luxury cars, endless travels, and towering ego, returned home well past midnight. He had just come from a gala where politicians and magnates competed over who could donate the most, their smiles wide but hollow, their words dripping with false sincerity. Oba had done his part, handed over a fat check, smiled for the cameras, and now all he wanted was silence, a drink, and sleep. But the silence he expected never came. The moment he stepped into his penthouse, a hand shot out of the shadows and clamped tightly across his mouth. His body stiffened. Instinct surged through him. He was ready to fight when a trembling voice whispered, "Don't make a sound." It was a woman's voice, soft but urgent. When she finally released him, Oba turned sharply, and his eyes widened. Standing before him was Efua, the young maid he had barely noticed since hiring her 2 weeks ago. Normally, she moved quietly, her black and white uniform blending into the background, her eyes always lowered. But tonight, her gaze was different. Red, glistening, burning with fear. "What are you doing in my house at this hour?" Oba hissed. Efua's chin trembled. "Please, sir, don't raise your voice." "Why shouldn't I?" Her next words froze him in place. "Because your son is sleepwalking, and if you wake him the wrong way, you could lose him." For a moment, Oba thought he had misheard. His son, his only child, Kwame, was just 7 years old, shy, quiet, a boy Oba rarely saw because of endless business trips. Oba's chest tightened. "What do you mean?" Efua's eyes darted toward the hallway. "It happens every night around this time. I stay after my shift to guide him. Tonight, he almost reached the staircase." Her voice broke. If I hadn't stopped him, he could have fallen. The weight of her words hit Oba like a stone. Shame burned in his throat. He, the man who owned half the city, had not even noticed his son wandering dangerously at night. But this maid, this stranger, had noticed, had stayed behind without pay, and had saved his child. "You're not paid for this," Oba muttered. "I know," Efua replied simply. That calm answer cut him deeper than any accusation. For the first time, Oba Mensah, the man who thought money solved everything, realized his wealth had failed him in the one place it mattered most, his role as a father. Suddenly, soft footsteps echoed down the hall. Both turned to see little Kwame, barefoot and dazed, his eyes half closed, wandering toward the stairs. "Daddy," the boy murmured, though his voice sounded far away. Efua whispered urgently, "Move slowly. Don't startle him." Oba's hands shook as he bent down, opening his arms. "Come here, son." Kwame drifted forward and collapsed into his embrace. The boy's tiny frame clung to him tightly, as though afraid he would vanish again. "I was looking for you," Kwame whispered. Oba's throat ached as he whispered back, "I'm here now," and for the first time in years he meant it. From that night, the world inside the Mensah penthouse began to change. Oba canceled business trips, shocking his colleagues. He started sitting at the breakfast table with Kwame, fumbling awkwardly with syrup and toast but earning a grin from his son that no business deal could buy. He tucked him in at night, stumbling over bedtime stories, and sometimes dozed off in the chair beside his bed. And always, in the background, Efua remained steady, watching quietly, guiding gently. She was the one who whispered reminders like, "He wants to show you his drawing," or "He waited all day to tell you about school." At first, Oba felt ashamed. Then, he felt grateful. Slowly, he began to understand what she meant when she told him, "Children don't feel promises, sir. They feel presence." Weeks passed, and laughter returned to the penthouse. No longer did it feel like a silent museum filled with expensive furniture. It felt alive. One evening, Kwame surprised his father with a simple question at dinner. "Daddy, are you leaving again?" Oba shook his head firmly.
"No.
From now on, I'm staying." The boy's eyes widened, then filled with relief. He leapt into his father's arms, and Oba held him as if he'd never let go. Across the room, Efua lowered her gaze, hiding the smile tugging at her lips. Later that night, as Efua prepared to leave, Oba stopped her at the door. His voice was low, filled with something between guilt and gratitude. "Efua, thank you." She frowned slightly. "For what?" "For giving me back my son," he said, his voice breaking. Efua shook her head gently. "He doesn't need me, sir. He only needs his father." And with those words, she slipped into the night, leaving Oba standing there, his heart heavier, yet clearer than it had ever been. That night, as he tucked Kwame under the covers, the boy's small voice whispered, "Promise you won't leave?" Oba kissed his forehead. "Promise." And for the first time in his life, the billionaire felt richer than ever, not because of what he owned, but because of what he finally understood. Love could never be replaced by wealth, and presence was the greatest gift a father could give.